Although Oscar wasn't a scientist, this statement absolutely applies to all manner of genius. Over the years, scientists have trialled some incredibly out there ideas, trying to make a new scientific discovery or advance medicine. Some just use science as an excuse to torture. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Joseph Mengele. People we once labelled as mad, crazy or insane quite possibly lived with undiagnosed mental health conditions. This is true for at least one of the gentlemen on today's list, but for the sake of ease, we'll just call them mad scientists. Number 5. Francis Crick. Along with James Dewey Watson, Francis Harry Compton Crick will forever be remembered as one of the scientists responsible for deciphering the double helix structure of the DNA molecule. From an early age, Crick was fascinated by science. At the age of 12, he informed his parents that he no longer wished to attend the church with them, favouring a scientific search for answers over a religious one. Francis, a molecular biologist, biophysicist and neuroscientist, started working with James Watson in 1951 at the Cavendish Laboratory at the University of Cambridge. There they developed a model for their helical structure and published the work in 1953. For this and other works, they were jointly awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for their scientific work. One of the first people to see the model of the DNA structure was Leslie Ogle, a theoretical inorganic chemist. In the late 1960s, Crick and Ogle worked together on a new theory on the origins of life. They theorised that all life on Earth didn't evolve, but rather was very deliberate. Crick became a champion of one of the oddest pseudo-scientific theories of all time. In 1971, at a conference on communication with extraterrestrial intelligence put together by Carl Sagan, Crick and Ogle presented a highly unorthodox proposal and bold speculation. This proposal was directed panspermia. Essentially, they believed that life on Earth was deliberately seeded by extraterrestrials. Whilst they stated that direct panspermia was not a certainty, it was a plausible alternative that ought to be taken seriously. They argued that the universe is old enough to have other intelligent civilizations living within it, and that one of these civilizations could have built spaceships capable of traversing the vastness of space and seeded the universe with life. That's a sci-fi movie in the making. Number 4. Paracelsus. Paracelsus, whose full name I'm not even gonna try and butcher, was a German-Swiss physician, botanist and philosopher of the German Renaissance in the Middle Ages. He was a pioneer in the medical revolution of the Renaissance. He is said to have graduated with a doctorate in medicine from the University of Vienna in the early 16th century. He was one of the first to note that physicians should hold solid academic knowledge in the natural sciences, especially chemistry. He believed that humans, to be healthy, required certain balances of minerals in their bodies, and that spiritual beliefs and the movement of the stars had no effect on diseases and illnesses, unlike most theories at the time. He is now often referred to as the father of modern toxicology, but he was also a practicing alchemist and occultist. In 1537, he wrote what is essentially a cooking recipe for the creation of a living homunculus, a tiny, fully formed human with supernatural powers using only alchemy and not fertilization or gestation in the womb. Let the sperm of a man by itself be putrefied in a gourd glass, sealed up with the highest degree of putrefaction, in horse dung, for the space of 40 days, or so long until it begin to be alive, move and stir, which may easily be seen. After this time it will be something like a man, yet transparent and without a body. Now, After this, if it be every day warily and prudently nourished, and fed with the arcanum of man's blood, and be for the space of 40 weeks kept in a constant equal heat of horse dung, it will become a true and living infant, having all the members of an infant, which is born of a woman, but it will be far less. This we call homunculus, or artificial man. Whilst obviously this didn't work, as the idea that sperm alone is the ingredient needed to create life and that a womb is but a vessel, it does highlight what we once thought possible. But I wouldn't suggest that you try this at home. Number 3. William Buckland. William Buckland was an English theologian who became Dean of Westminster. He was also a geologist and paleontologist, and the first to author a full and accurate account of a dinosaur. In his early life, he would collect ammonites from the Jurassic period from quarries near where he lived, and he developed an interest in geology, eventually winning a scholarship to Corpus Christi College in Oxford, where he became a contemporary of Charles Dickens. In 1824 he became president of the Geological Society of London, and whilst here he wrote about the discovery of fossilised giant reptile bones, which he named the Megalosaurus, which translates to Great Lizard, found in Stonesfield, a small village just outside of Oxford. It's well documented that he was rather eccentric, undertaking field studies in his academic gown, and his lecturing style was more of a performance with dramatic delivery than a normal lecture. His home was filled with specimens, animals both live and dead, but he also wanted to eat his way through the entire animal kingdom. He and his son regularly dined on crocodile, mice on toast, roast hedgehog and bear, and he also liked potted ostrich, panthers, porpoises, vipers and roasted giraffe. They weren't as keen on the common mole or bluebottles. However, perhaps Buckland's greatest claim, if true, is that he reportedly ate a portion of the mummified heart of King Louis XIV. Number 2. Jack Parsons. Rocket scientist Jack Parsons was one of the principal founders of the Jet Propulsion Lab and was a pioneer in the development and advancement of both liquid and solid fuel rockets. Inspired by science fiction literature, Jack was interested in rocketry from an early age, creating amateur rocket experiments with his school friend Edward S. Foreman. Due to the Great Depression and the financial hardship that came from that, he had to drop out of Stanford University. In 1934, along with Foreman and Frank Molina, he joined the Caltech-affiliated Guggenheim Aeronautical Laboratory Rocket Research Group. However, the California Institute of Technology researcher's personal life overshadowed his career. In 1939, after a brief fling with Marxism, Parsons converted to Thalemia, a Western esoteric and occult spiritual philosophy and new religious movement created by the occultist Aleister Crowley. Along with his first wife Helen, Jack joined the Agape Lodge, the Californian branch of Thelemites, in 1941. In 1945, Parsons separated from his wife Helen after an affair with her sister Sarah. Sarah then went on to marry L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. Although his lover left him for Hubbard, he joined up with him to conduct the Babylon Working, a series of rituals, all sexual in nature, naturally, in an attempt to raise the Thelemic goddess Babylon, also known as the Mother of Abominations. Not entirely sure why you'd want to invoke her, that does baffle me somewhat. Parsons was eventually killed in an explosion that some have suggested was down to a magical experiment, but in reality Parsons received a rush order of explosives for a film set and began to work on it in his home laboratory, causing mortal injuries. Number 1. Nikola Tesla. Tesla was a pretty prolific inventor. He was also quite possibly the most tormented scientist we've ever seen. Born in 1856 in the Austrian Empire, now Croatia, notably during a thunderstorm, Tesla studied mathematics and physics at the Technical University of Graz and philosophy at the University of Prague. In 1884 he moved to New York and worked for Thomas Edison for a year as an engineer. Many of Tesla's inventions were technological breakthroughs in the electrical and engineering fields, including radio, hydroelectric power, the Tesla coil, and most importantly, alternating current. But as we've seen already in this video, with great intelligence often comes great eccentricity. Some of Tesla's lesser-known inventions were a thought camera, an earthquake machine, and an infrared death ray. He began showing signs of what we now know to be obsessive-compulsive disorder around 1917. He initially became obsessed with the number 3, so much so that he would only stay in hotel rooms with numbers divisible by 3. Before his death, he lived in apartment 3327 on the 33rd floor of a New York hotel. He also became obsessed with germs, and he developed an aversion to jewellery, especially pearl earrings. Famously, he believed that he had been in contact with extraterrestrials, and he admitted to falling in love with a pigeon. He reportedly said, "I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loves me. As long as I had her, there was a purpose to my life." His reputation was tarnished, mostly due to his undiagnosed and unknown OCD. Tesla died penniless and alone in a New York hotel at the age of 86. Shortly after his death, the FBI allegedly took all of his notes and files. Many surmise that they were looking for evidence of his death ray. In 2017, President Obama declassified CIA files, including Tesla notes, the existence of which had been denied for decades. Thank you so much for watching this little dive into mad scientists, if we can use that term. Don't actually think we can. Eccentric fellas. As always, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. See you next time.